Yeah, you got me on that one.
Well, how about the kid last night? He was real good.
Kyle was great. Kyle Harrison.
He pitched?
He pitched.
He pitched.
He pitched.
It's the first time maybe I've seen him pitch versus throw.
And
he was big league baseball last night.
Huge.
Slider for a strike. The slurve had lots of break to it. It was nasty. The changeup at any count. Fastball had ride on it. It was low. He was around the knees all night with it. It was good to see.
Yeah,
good game.
No, he was fantastic. At the same time, it gets a little frustrating. Like all the Matt Cain PTSD starts to come up when you see a game like that. I mean, I can only tell you what my phone was doing in the middle of that game.
I need more friends. My phone's not doing anything.
Well, you and I were texting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I were texting.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
You got it. We'll do it again tonight.
All right.
I know the first thing that happened was Triple's alley frustration. I got a few of those texts because Yaz hits a ball that, and I mean this is objective now. No ballpark in the history of the major leagues other than Oracle Park holds that ball. Like it literally hit the corner where the bricks and the fence come together. He hit that ball 425 feet. I know I'm getting
in the history of the big leagues. Might be
fine.
stretch.
Detroit, years ago, Tiger Stadium.
Polo Grounds.
I know I'm being a little.
They didn't have fences for years. They just rolled into the crowd that was sitting in the perimeter. So that was a little grandiose,
a little hyperbolic. Fine. Point is, there ain't no ballpark that's holding that thing at any point right now, except for this one. And so then, when it becomes an RBI triple instead of a home run, and then he gets stranded, and 2 seconds later, the Astros get their only run of the game and tie the game, I had buddies who were like, we got to do something about this triples alley, which, of course, they already did. They did once. They're not going to do it again, I don't think. Maybe they are.
Should they move the fences in? Do you think that would lend to getting more sluggers in free agency?
I think they should move it all the way in.
You got to move the plate out.
Change the name from Triples Alley to Soto Landing. That's what I would do if I were running the Giants. I know he's not coming, but of all the reasons he's not coming, that's not one of the top 5, but it's probably on the list somewhere. If he did get to a point where you were considering the Giants, there'd be a major drawback.
He hit 2 home runs in one game.
Correct.
The park can't hold him. Just the way it is.
That park can hold anybody.
It can't hold Judge. It can't hold Barry Bonds. It can't hold Juan Soto. If you can hit him, they go there.
Yeah, but if you ask Barry if he ever lost any home runs in Triples Alley, the answer is yes.
Sure. If you ask Willie Mays, he played in an open Candlestick Park for how many years?
Right.
With the wind just whipping off the bay and nothing to stop it.
But that was before the age of free agency. We're in a different time now. Yeah. And we're looking like if I'm a left-handed power hitter, I'm out.
Yeah, so I guess you could move home plate out. You ain't moving the bricks, so the archway's anywhere.
No, but you could bring the fence in even further. Like it can attach to the bricks wherever you want it to attach to the bricks. Yeah. That's what they did last time. You can bring it further. I don't know if it's going to be enough to really change the park, but that was...
You were going on an organizational depth rant that I interrupted you on.
No, not at all. So there was that. And then the next thing that sort of came up was this. First of all, the Giants have a DH problem. And Luke was just joking with me in the other room. And he's like, the H in DH stands for hitter. But right now with the Giants, it's not, unless, of course, the D stands for doesn't. Doesn't hitter. That's what we've got right now, and it's a problem. And my mind really went there after reading Tim Kawakami in The Athletic really make a case for the Giants trying to trade for Mike Trout right now. Even though he's 33, he's hurt, he's often hurt. Yes, there's a lot of money left on the deal, although not that much. And you can negotiate who's paying what in a baseball trade, as we know. This isn't really even about Mike Trout, even though I'm thumbs up on the idea. Like, the Giants' rallies right now are too often ending up with hitters on base and Jorge Soler at the plate. And it just, man, I loved the signing, I love the swag, and I love the yellow shoes. It's not working. It's not working.
He's not making adjustments. It's all you have to do is throw a slider down the way. He's just not seeing it. He's pulling off. I don't know what's going on.
He's trying to hit the Coke bottle.
Take your singles to right and then hit some mistakes for homers. And I know it's frustrating Pat Burrell a lot because they've been working real hard behind the scenes, but it's just not going from the cage to the batter's box yet. It's not translating. And he hits so many ground balls. It's just like, get the ball in the air, dude. Please get the ball in the air. And it looks like if I'm going to give my professional opinion, he's swinging with his body and not with his hands. When you trust the hands and they're nice and relaxed, you let the ball get deep. But when he swings, it's his whole, like from his belt buckle up, it's his whole body swinging. And you start to get into the rotational, pulling off the ball with your body and not trusting your hands and letting the ball travel. Hit some toward triple alley.
Yeah.
And then if they make a mistake on a hanger, you pull it to the Coke bottle. But right now he's trying to hit everything the Coke bottle, and he's just very, very upper body, stiff, rotational. I mean, he needs to get Joe Boo out of his locker. First of all, Pedro Serrano needs to get Joe Boo out of his locker. Yeah. And then just, the spinning ball is frightening and confusing him right now. And then he's late on the fastball. So it's been a rough watch. But he's hitting 211. He's got 7 home runs. He's driven in 18.
18 runs driven in. Yeah. Your homers are solo. That number to me, I mean, again, I think we said it yesterday. Guy's got fewer RBIs than Luis Matos. Matos was here for 3 weeks. It's a problem, and I think the Giants right now need to do 2 things. A, they need to be willing to put someone else in that spot on certain nights. I know right now they're so unhealthy that it's like, who? But I would rather, if someone else, if Brooks can be over there at first base, I'd rather see Wilmer right now as the DH. There are certain nights, right? If Chapman is back, hell, I don't know, depending on who's on the mound, I'd almost rather see Wisely out there. When Luciano's healthy, let's take a look at that. If he's even up on the big league club, I don't know. They've got this purge out in the outfield. Let Slater be the DH for a couple of nights to get him these more at bats, so you can try to see what he's able to do. That's number one, and number two, I think it needs to be in the back of their mind at the trade deadline. That was even one of the points that Tim made about Mike Trout. Is if the legs are not allowing him to play center field anymore, the DH position needs to be considered something that is currently open for the Giants. I know they signed Soler so that he was the everyday DH for 3 years, but it's hurting them right now. It's hurting them too much, and they've got to be open to doing something else.
And I think they will, but 200 at-bats, when you're talking about 600, that's a third of the season. So we'll see. Maybe he turns it around. Maybe he gets hot. Maybe he figures it out. But he's just not seeing the ball. Like JT and I always used to talk, whatever your hitting coach is telling you, keep your head still so you can see the baseball. That's the number one thing you have to do to hit, is to see the ball. So if you're moving forward, or you're starting to open and you're diving in, or you're jumping toward the pitcher, or you're squatting down and coming up out of your squat and your head is moving, it's going to affect the way you see the baseball. And Felipe used to always say, like, if a guy's swinging at sliders in the dirt, he's not seeing the baseball. And to me, it looks like Jorge Soler is predetermining, I'm swinging at this pitch based on the count, based on just, I'm guessing. I've been there where you're just hoping it's a strike, and you're saying, I'm going to swing at this pitch and I hope it's a strike. If it's not, I'm going to look really stupid because I'm not seeing the baseball. So whenever, for you younger coaches out there listening with your kids, the number one thing is to keep their head frozen. Like, make sure the head is still to see the baseball. That's the biggest mistake a lot of young hitters make, is their head's moving all over the place and the ball's moving on its own. So then if your head's moving on top of it, it makes the ball move even more.
Yep. Well, and I also think Jorge maybe needs to be reminded about how powerful he is. Dude, you don't need to get all of it.
Well, that could be part of the problem.
But he seems like he wants to get all of it.
Well, he might
just get most of it. It may still go in the second row.
If he's intimidated by the ballpark and thinks he's got to generate more than he has in the past, maybe that's leading to this big upper body swing that he's got going.
Maybe.
I remember Paul Goldschmidt when he was a Diamondback and they put the balls in the humidor. He was real frustrated with the balls in the humidor in Arizona. It wasn't going where it used to. So then he started swinging harder and getting out of his game plan and going max effort, and his average went in the tank. And so until he got comfortable, I talked to some hitting coaches that are friends of mine with him, and they said, we just had to get him confident in the ballpark again. When you're on the tee box and the wind's right in your face,
oh God,
and you're striping the ball all day long, but all of a sudden the course turns around the teeth of the wind, and you kind of jump on it a little extra because the wind's in your face and you duck hook it. Same kind of thing. Like if you can go with that easy swing and hit it 400 feet like he can, but now you're in a ballpark that might be a little intimidating to you, and my 80% swing's got to be 180%. And it seems to me like he thinks he needs to generate more to get it out of this park.
But he's right-handed. He doesn't. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
And I'm just guessing.
You know what I mean?
I haven't heard anything
and,
like that.
And half his games are on the road where it was in Arizona where he hit that thing 25 rows deep.
Arizona. Not his own ballpark.
And nobody on base.
Yeah.
Like, you got my attention with what you said yesterday about the different pitches that you'll get based on where you hit in the lineup and based on whether it's a high leverage situation. Soler has been objectively awful in high leverage situations this year.
Solo home runs don't beat you, so you're going to get better pitches to hit with nobody on.
Right. And last night he came up. Luckily, he got backed up by Austin Slater, but he came up with the bases loaded and nobody out to win the game. And he cued one off the bat. And luckily, Ramos didn't mess with anyone else's mind. I don't know what the hell Elliott was doing down the third base line.
He lost track that the bases were loaded.
The fact that there's a ground ball.
He might have beat that.
Fair or foul, there's zero reason ever to turn around and go back to third base. I have no clue what was happening there.
He thought it was first and third or second and third, something like that. He didn't know the bases were loaded.
Luckily, that didn't hurt him. And Slates was there with the swing.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
What is he doing? Elliott,
There's been a lot of those. There's a lot of what are they doing this year with the Giants?
Run, Elliott. Run till they tag you. You might have made it. What an easy play. But it all worked out.
It all worked out. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, though, with the organizational depth. This is supposed to be one of Farhan's strengths. And so I give the Giants something that I don't think actually is being talked about enough right now, which is that they're so flippin' hurt. They are so flippin' hurt. For us to be sitting here going, and their record isn't better than the Nationals. It's June 10th, 11th, and they're so hurt. I still see a path for this to actually be a good baseball team in the second half of the year. We'll see. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I see that as a real possibility. But when that happens, I would argue that Farhan Zaidi, supposedly his strength was to be able to have an organization that it can at least put a Band-Aid on it for 3 weeks while everybody's out. And right now, you're looking at too many situations where people are ending up in the infield of this team and just looking ridiculous. I love the kid. He has got such a great demeanor about him. He came on the show with us 2 weeks. But every night right now, at least once, I'm watching Casey Schmidt play, and I'm like, you don't look like you should be here right now. I know that's harsh. He does not look like he should be in the big leagues right now.
Well, if you're going organizational depth, I got to push back a little bit because there's Ryan Walker. There's, Elliot Ramos is one of the best players on the team right now. Luis Matos was National League Player of the Week. Brett Wisely is filled in. So the organizational depth in my mind, if you're looking at one guy and going to point that out and say organizational depth, that's just one person that looks a little mentally and physically overmatched right now. Okay, but did Luciano not look like that in the field? Did Wisely also not cover a base? I know Ramos has been amazing. He's turning and running the wrong way. Matos obviously had the great week and a half and then was awful. And maybe that's unfair because I'm talking just about kids and they're going to come up and they're going to make a lot of mistakes. But even what you see right now in the rotation. Okay, Snell gets hurt. Cobb's not ready. Boy, that stinks. What do we got? Okay, who can start a game for us? I don't know. For a lot of the year, it feels like no one. We have no one who can start the game and just get us to the fifth inning. I don't know, man. Right now, it feels like too many players are on the team that don't always look like big league players. Well, I mean, that's going to happen when you have so many injuries all at once. I don't know. Name me organizations that can have 13 guys on the IL, and that leads Major League Baseball, and have 13 guys come up from their minor leagues and all be studs. I'm not asking for studs. I'm not asking for studs. But you've gotten some too, though. I mean, Matos was National League Player of the Week.
Yep.
Elliot Ramos is their best hitter right now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wisely's playing shortstop like he's been playing his whole life, and he's raking. And Patrick Bailey's an organizational guy. Camilo Duvall, Eric Miller, Ryan Walker. There's a lot of guys on that team right now that came up through the organization that are playing really well and contributing in big time situations.
I'm not firing on the entire farm system. Those guys were on the opening day roster.
That's what organizational depth means, though.
No, not completely. It means that when there are injuries, you have people who can come up and give you a few weeks and not.
They are.
Are they?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are ruining baseball games.
Well, yeah.
Casey ruined a game in Arizona.
He did. It looked like his head was somewhere besides where it needed to be. And I think mentally that's where, as a manager, it's a challenge for you where you want to get mad because that's the one thing you control, like being invested, being concentrating, the attitude and effort you give on a nightly basis. Like physical things are going to happen because it's a hard game. But when you see mental things, like I would say that Casey's starting to slip into his at-bats from last year, and that's dangerous, where he just swung last night. And once he swings at the first pitch, he swings at the second one, he swings at the third, and it gets a little to where he's not commanding the strike zone, and that's a concern. And then if that goes out onto defense and you start seeing some mental lapses, not physical, but mental lapses can lead into physical errors. If you're just not concentrating and you're thinking about your last at-bat and the ball takes a weird hop and your brain's somewhere else, you're not going to make that play. So those things are concerning. And I think when Nick Ahmed comes back, you'll see a shift there. I would imagine.
I hope it means that Matos is coming back.
But my opinion of organizational depth is, and I could be wrong here, is that you tread water until the cavalry comes back. It's not like we're going to gain games in the standings, which I think they may have with all these injuries, but you want to tread water until the troops get there. In organizational depth, if they come up and you just the bed and all of a sudden you're 15 or 20 games out and the season's gone, that's poor organizational depth. But if you can tread water, play 500, remain 7.5, 8 games back of the Dodgers, which is not insurmountable. If everyone's talking about the wild card already, 8 games back is not, I'll take that.
Well, the standings are
I'll just say, let's say, right if you're 8 games back of one of the best teams in baseball with 13 guys or whatever it is now on the IL, I'm okay with that. So they are treading water, in my opinion.
I understand where you're coming from. It's frustrating sometimes. There's been, for my taste, too many moments where dudes have come up and it's like you don't look like big leaguers. You're making decisions and doing things on the field.
I agree.
That just don't look like big leaguers.
It's frustrating.
You want everyone to look like a big leaguer.
Well, the game that Bob, and maybe we'll ask him what he said when he comes on today, the game in Arizona, that got everybody's attention.